Hello, everyone. My name is Fabian Zimmer. I'm a group product manager in Enablement, and these are our plans for the Sharding group for 14.3 GitLab's next release. Before I go into the specific items, I would like to call out that issues that have to do with the availability and performance of our GitLab.com offering, so-called infra-dev issues, take priority in this milestone. So if there are any specific reports that we get or any specific corrective actions we need to take, then those will be addressed as soon as possible to ensure that GitLab.com remains stable. This is important for all of our customers. I just wanted to preface this because that may change our overall plans for the milestone a tiny bit. Okay, so to recap, right now, the Sharding group is specifically focused on decomposing GitLab's database to improve scalability. So right now, GitLab uses a PostgreSQL database, a single database as the data store for most of the data that is produced by GitLab. And especially on GitLab.com, we are no longer able to easily scale vertically by buying larger servers. And so we need strategies to scale our database further to ensure that we can continue to grow and we're not experiencing any performance-related degradations. And so as a first step to this, we're actually decomposing GitLab's database. So this is on the way to sharding, but it's not really sharding itself. So when I say decomposing, what we're trying to achieve is we are taking a part of our database, specifically the part that is to do with continuous integration and those tables, we're going to split those off and decompose them into a second database, or more specifically a database cluster. And this actually then takes all of the CI-related data and has them sort of separately as their own thing. And given that that is a significant chunk, we leave up to 50% of our current database by size, but also importantly, a lot of the write requests, which are difficult to scale, we buy ourselves a significant amount of headroom. So this is essentially what we're going to do. We're going to take our main database and we're going to decompose it, specifically focusing on the CI tables first. And as I said, CI actually accounts for around 50% of the writes. So by moving them, we can really reduce the overall amount of writes on a single database. And what are we doing in 14.3? Let me just collapse this if I can do it. There we are. So the first thing to know is, like, if you're specifically interested in a holistic overview, go check out this epic 6168. The work items here cover a wide range of activities. Not all of them are being pursued by the Sharding group themselves. We support all of those efforts. But for example, there's work to fix security features or specific features in enablement. They're fanned out and they're all in this epic. You can see here. So there's a ton of work that is actually going on that is not directly done by the Sharding group itself. Our work is primarily focused on supporting many databases and the decomposition of the CI tables. So supporting many databases, there are quite a few different things that we need to put in place in order for GitLab to actually support running several databases. And one of the things that we're continuing to do in 14.3 is generalize our load balancing to allow for many databases. This is important because we essentially now have two different database clusters. We need to be able to load balance and understand where requests should go. And one of the work items that will carry over here, for example, I'm not going to go into all of the details, is enabling database load balancing by default. And this will allow us to essentially get rid of a lot of the checks for if load balancing is enabled, make it overall easier, and you can still deactivate it. But by moving to something that is sort of enabled by default, you make it overall a little bit more straightforward. And then there's a bunch of other issues that will need to be addressed. One thing that we are not 100% sure of, and we may investigate this a little bit more, but we may also, for the sake of iteration, decide that this is not quite worth it. Is using database schemas to better isolate CI decomposed features. So this is something that we may actually do later. I left it in because it is one of the things that we discussed earlier, but it may actually be something that we may do at a later point in time, if at all, but I wanted to highlight it. It's essentially important to define specific boundaries between features, and by using the specific structure that may become easier, but again, we may punt on that. The other items that we are looking into is sort of specific to the CI tables. So one of the things that I would like to highlight here is now that we actually will have a separate database for CI, we want to be able to actually create that database in our continuous integration pipelines. It's a bit meta, but we're working on that. We're also trying to keep our sort of master POC MR green to ensure that all of the tests pass and we see the failures that are happening by our work. Another thing that we need to do is to investigate how two-phase commits can actually work, or how we handle them, because we may want to forbid this entirely, and there's a bit of discussion on how we can actually do this and what the impact of that is. So this is something that will continue in 14.3 as well. Yeah, so on a high level, we are continuing to work on many specific items for supporting many databases, and then for decomposing the CI tables. There's a lot of activity in other areas as well to make the entire application behave, but this is it for 14.3. Thanks for listening.